Welcome back. So in this video we're going to be discussing the time that we've been doing mediumship or development stroke experience. So where to start this video I don't really know, and a little bit of a blank mind when it comes to recording this one. So I'll use my own journey as the example, and I'm sure you'll understand where I'm trying to go or what you can take from the video. So when I first started off, I was heavily into development. I would do circle Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then of every evening I would read. I would read books, or I would sit with my team. So that started to shift to 3 hours on a Monday. Then I would do circle Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Read literature on the Friday, and no doubt do something on the Saturday if anything was available, like a workshop or something like that. And this went on for about a year, I suppose, something like that. And as the time starts clocking up, you start getting a little bit better at connecting or understanding, and all that kind of stuff. Everything just gets thrown in. And then demonstrating, so it was about a year later for me. A medium didn't turn up, and then is there a medium in the house? And it was like, my mate was like, yep, you. Long story short, I ended up doing the demonstration. So then I started to work even harder at it, religiously sitting on the Monday with my team for 3 hours. That would be trance work, or sitting for physical mediumship, whatever it would be. I ramped up, and I chose to do 2 Arthur Findlay residential courses, so 2 full weeks at the college. It wasn't really for me, that kind of scene, so I tried it once, didn't really like it. Gave it a second shot. It was all right, not really my thing. So stepped away from that. Found another school, Star. Started being a student there. Done a couple of courses there, and then things started to change very, very quickly. And my demonstrating was going through the roof, like hours and hours and hours spent demonstrating because of the bookings. Now, for maybe the last 5 years, I've done 200 a year, give or take a few. So as a baseline, 1,000, and then an hour and a half demonstrations. What's that? 1,500 hours. So something like that. 1,500 hours plus all the development plus everything. So my experience, when someone says to me, how experienced are you? Or how much experience do you have? There's not really an answer for it, in all honesty, unless I clocked every hour that I was doing, which I probably could get close to a figure if I sat down and worked it out. But it would be a lot of time with the spirit world. It was something I decided to dedicate my life to. I changed absolutely everything in my world to hone in this skill set and this passion of mine. I just really moved my entire life towards it. Right or wrong, other people will. There'll be arguments on both sides. For me, it was right to do it that way. At all costs, it was right for me to do it that way. And even with hindsight, it was all the right things for me. But there will be some people that do it too much, or they've done too much and it's cost them everything, and now they regret it. And so there's so many variables. So that's why I'm using me as the example here. So the hours that I've put in are ridiculous. A ridiculous amount of time spent sat with my team, developing presentation, showmanship. The mechanics, the philosophy, the exams, the accreditation. I mean, there's so much that I've put into that. And so then I will sit in a room with someone, and with a conversation will start, and I will have a version. Maybe it's like this, or maybe try this because this works for me, and so on and so forth. And I've literally had people go, well, who are you? Who are you? Like, how long have you been doing it? And at the time, these kind of arguments would maybe break out, would be maybe 3, 4, 5 years under my belt, of this intensive training. And they'll say something like, yeah, well, I've got 25 years experience, almost sitting upon the high horse. And then I would my retaliation, I don't need to retaliate now, but I'd be angered by that, because I'd be like, well, 25 years to my 5 years doesn't mean that you're 20 more years advanced than me. And they would be like baffled by this argument. Absolutely baffled. Well, it does, Charlie. That's exactly what it means. And then I would start listing. Well, I'd done 200 dems last year, 1,500 hours in the company of the spirit world, just demonstrating. 2 hours on the Wednesday and the Thursday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, or Thursday. So that's another 6 hours per week added on to that, and the 3 hours every Monday. So that's another 9 hours a week for 50 weeks. I don't know what that is. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 450, another 450. So I'm at 2,000 hours already per year. And what do you do? What is it you do? You take one circle, you demonstrate maybe once a month, and you do a little bit of teaching a couple of times a week. And that's without my teaching figures on there. And so it takes me 1 year with the hours that I'm putting in to match your 5 years. So now let's break it all down, and your 25 years experience is actually the equivalent of my 5 years experience for hours served or hours put in to demonstrating, to teaching, to the spirit world, as a blanket to the spirit world. I had to very quickly change the setup there. The sun started breaking through the clouds and come through the window, blew all the light in, so that last bit would have been a little blown out. My apologies. So curtains are shut, we're in total darkness, and got a key light here, so that's why the vision will look different there. And so we'll go down this argument as such. It never, not really heated or ever come to like blows or anything like that. But they're absolutely placed upon their high horse with how many years experience that they do or they have under their belt. And this really doesn't come into the equation at certain points. I always teach my students that, you could have spent 5 years in development, opening and closing and protecting, and you may be part of like a rescue circle and all that kind of stuff, when in my opinion and in my philosophy all of this is wrong. So 5 years we can wipe straight off because there's no value in it. It doesn't help. It doesn't bring forward the evidence or the intelligence of the communicator. 5 minutes in the right mechanic, 5 minutes in working with the spirit world in the right way is already more than the 5 years invested in the wrong stuff, in the wrong way of doing something. And so the argument never, ever, ever holds up. It's the time spent or the hours that you put in. That doesn't come down to days or years that you've been doing it, especially if you do one workshop a year and you demonstrated 5 times in the last 10 years. It doesn't really come into the equation if I'm doing 200 demonstrations a year and I'm in the classroom or doing readings or doing videos and sitting with the spirit world and all that kind of stuff on a daily basis. My accumulation of hours or minutes spent with the company of the spirit world far, far outweighs anyone that's doing 25 years in the scenario that I've given. So we kind of got to lose the idea of, if someone says, well, I have 35 years experience, I'm here, I can do this, I can do that. And I always say, let your work do the talking. Let your students go out, let your clients go out, let your work speak for itself. You won't have to do adverts, and you won't have to do publicity stunts, and you won't have to do all these promotional things if your work does it for you. The quality that you are giving, your evidence, that won't be hidden forever. There'll be people that will speak about you, and then your name will travel, then other people will get in contact with you. And you don't need to ram it down someone's throat that I've been doing it 5 years or 20 years or 30, whatever that figure is, because your work speaks for itself. Your mechanics are tight. Your evidence is delivered well. Will speak far more than someone that's done 50 years of mediumship, but with very, very little development. That it's not going to look like 50 years experience. So that time frame there is not something that we should be using or making a decision on. I'm going to go with this teacher because they say they have 35 years experience, to this one over here that's only got 5 years experience in the example. It's not going to make any difference for the figures, because the 5 years might have already accumulated the equivalent of the person that's spent 30 years doing mediumship. So as a nice tidy kind of roundup for the video, you know, if you've been practicing the wrong mechanics, or you do one reading a month and maybe one demonstration a year, and you've been doing that for 15 years, you know, it's and someone that's doing 3 readings a day, 3 demonstrations a week, sitting with their team for one evening for 4 hours, 3-4 hours per evening per week. The time accumulated by the person on the smaller side there, with a small number of years, a year, 2, 3 years, has already accumulated the same amount of time as that person that's done the 1 reading and 1 demonstration for 15 years. So it really doesn't fall. It doesn't place someone higher up because of the number of years they have, is what I'm trying to say in the video. It shouldn't be documented, or it shouldn't be used as a power card in any way. Your work will always speak for itself. So if you like the video, give it a like. Get in the comments if you encountered this. Let me know in the comments your experience. I'm someone that definitely experienced that many times throughout my journey. So hence the video here. Subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll catch you lot in the next video.